Let's talk about what's going on, because Original Sin, the book claiming that Democrats covered up President Biden's declining condition, is out today. It's co-written by Jake Tapper, and Joe Biden's granddaughter posted her review ahead of its release, claiming it's all lies, and it relies on unnamed anonymous sources pushing a self-serving false narrative that absolves them of any responsibility for our current national nightmare. The Daily Show's Jon Stewart weighed in about the book last night as well. Take a look.
Don't news people have to tell you what they know when they find it out? Isn't that the difference between news and a secret? Breaking news in a week. The news is selling you a book about news they should have told you was news a year ago for free. It was a terrible cover-up because we all knew.
So, should anonymous sources who talked to Tapper have spoken up about their concerns while he was in office, while he was still in office? And my other question is, why is this important to know now?
Yeah.
Well, that's what some people want to know.
Because it just seems to me, you know, we got a lot of stuff to be concerned about at the moment.
So I list them? So I list them?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
please. Yes.
Here's the Trump's atrocities. I'm going to list them for you.
Oh.
Cutting Medicaid.
Yeah.
Well, this is what we're concerned about now.
Oh, I got you. Okay.
Cutting Medicaid, slashing funding for cancer research.
Yep.
Rising prices because of tariffs. Dismantling USAID, which helps children and people who are poor around the world.
Yeah.
Fears of recession, destroying due process, ending birthright citizenship, dismantling the Department of Education, rolling back regulations on air and water quality, destroying our relationships with allies like Canada and the UK, and targeting his political opponents.
Preach.
And that, not only that, but he also said that Joe Biden has stage 9 cancer. Oh, really? Where did he come up with that? When is Jake Tapper going to write a book about the cognitive decline of the person who is in charge now?
I would like to respond to that, because a factor in why we're in the situation we're in is because Joe Biden decided to stay in the race. And I want to speak to Jake Tapper and Alec Thompson specifically, because I'm friends with both of them, colleagues with both of them. And I don't think there is anyone who could credibly accuse, especially Jake Tapper, of not critically covering Donald Trump for the last 10 years. He's one of the top journalists in this country. He moderated that debate, by the way. This is where I take issue with some folks on the left. We stand with journalists, we stand with the free press when they're going after their opponents, like Donald Trump. But when they critically cover Democrats as, oh no, they're lying, it's fairy dust, it's not true.
I just want to point out that that was his granddaughter.
And by the way, with the family, I take exception. Anyone's going to defend their family. But with political figures who are coming out and attacking these two journalists, how is that pro-democracy? How is it pro-Fourth Estate to say,
wait a second.
oh, but when you come after Democrats,
I saw him the other day, and all he's doing is hawking his book on the CNN. And he's flanked by other people, Ryan Stelter and Van Jones, also hawking his book. When did CNN become a place to hawk your book? Is Wolf Blitzer coming out with a cookbook?
But by the way, the reason he didn't publish it at the time to respond to the Jon Stewart of it, people said they weren't willing to talk on the record at the time because of fear of retribution. And I think that speaks to a bigger problem in our government. The people who work for powerful figures feel like they cannot come out with the truth about their concerns, and they have to wait till later,
and
whether
honestly,
it's Trump or Biden.
This list that Joy has, the way you get a focus on that is when you win elections. And the only people that were coming out on the record critical of President Biden was when Representative Dean Phillips ran and said, until we get someone better to come out and run against Biden, who he raised concerns about, about Biden in the Democratic Party. He said, until we're willing to have this conversation out loud, the special counsel, Robert Hur, who took like the biggest attack when all he said was, there are some things here that are concerning on these tapes. Now they've been revealed, and everyone's like, let's not focus back on that. The problem is there's a trust issue here. There's a massive trust issue with the voters.
There has always been a mass trust issue because politicians, media, nobody does what they're supposed to do. Now, I say, for me, listen, he's 83, so he's a little stumbly, he's a little rumbly. I can't point to anything that he's done that he did.
No,
As
but that he was
president-
running for his next
wait,
4 years.
But I'm saying, I want, not you, but I want somebody to tell me, well, when did you know it was bad? If you knew, why did you wait?
Yeah. So
Can I just
answered that,
Can I get in
He
for a
said that
second?
it was after he moderated the debate.
Can
Yes,
I get
but that's not, I'm sorry, baby. That's
Yeah.
not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about if you're telling me that hundreds of people knew that he was not able to do his job, then where the hell was
I think
everybody?
they
He did his job. He did his
Well,
job.
that's the point. Okay.
This is the thing. Now, Jake is my former colleague. I know him well. He's a friend. He's a terrific journalist. He said that 99% of what is reported in the book was discovered after the election. So I think we can put that part to bed about journalists holding on information until so that they could make money off their book. What I do think that we should be very, very concerned about are the people that were in the Trump administration that did hold on to information about how Trump was conducting the presidency so that they could make money off of their book. We're talking about former National Security Advisor John Bolton, who came on this show hawking his book, and I told him, why didn't you say something before? Former Attorney General Bill Barr, he wrote a book, didn't say anything while he was in there.
By the way,
Former Defense
we
Secretary
are
Mark
now-
Esper and that White House Press Secretary Stephanie Grisham. All of them knew what Trump was, who he was, how he was doing
But
it.
we
and
don't
they
know
wrote a
that.
book.